Plaza holding a banner that says Jews say stop arming Israel, calling for an end to U.S.-Israel aid. Those protests included people who had been suspended from Columbia and Barnard over those university protests. Now, the latest statement from Schumer's office with regard to those demonstrations reads, college campuses must be places of learning and discussion. Every American has a right to protest, but when protests shift to anti-Semitism, verbal abuse, intimidation, or glorification of October 7th violence against Jewish people, that crosses the line. Campuses must remain safe for all students. Now, earlier this month, Johnson had said to me he had actually condemned a Senate floor speech by Schumer calling for new elections in Israel. Johnson, we know, is visiting Columbia University, where he'll be meeting with Jewish students. But Bianca, Republicans have been extremely critical of these protests. Republican Senator Tom Cotton has even called for student visas to be revoked and also federal funding for these universities. So it remains to be seen if there will be congressional action in response to the demonstrations that we've been seeing.
Well, obviously getting very contentious there at Schumer's house and on campuses across the nation. Kilmeny, great to have you in today. Thanks for that update on the Hill. All right, let's bring in our panel now to discuss what is happening across the globe, including Iran's next move in Israel. We're pleased to have Dr. Walid Phares, Newsmax foreign policy analyst. He's the author of Iran, an Imperialist Republic, and also has a brand new podcast coming out on geopolitics, war and freedom, Inside Talk. Also pleased to have the former Undersecretary of Defense and former Secretary of Veterans Affairs, Secretary Robert Wilkie. Gentlemen, pleasure. Welcome in.
Thank you for having us.
I want to get your reaction first, Secretary Wilkie, to some reporting our senior correspondent John Huddy is doing right from the ground as we speak in Israel. He says that the IDF fighters have struck 40 Hezbollah targets in southern Lebanon today. And there is, throughout the last 24 hours, IAF fighter jets and aircraft striking over 50 targets. What's your read into sort of this uptick in movement here by the IDF?
Well, I think they're fighting on several fronts, and I think the strikes against Hezbollah are in the form of warnings to Hezbollah that if they do engage, they will be devastated. I do think that the operation in Rafah will go ahead. They can't stop now. They have to eliminate the rest of Hamas's ability to attack and harm Israelis. And what this also does, and Walid is the ultimate expert, it takes one of the arrows out of Iran's quiver.
Right.
Hezbollah, Hamas, the Houthis, this is how Iran fights. And in order to weaken them, we need to support the Israelis taking out more and more of Iran's proxies. And I think that's what Netanyahu will do, despite the interference by the Biden administration.
Israel sent a message with the attack, as we all know, on Isfahan recently. But that is the question, Wally. Does Israel have any other choice or alternative to taking Rafah and seizing Gaza entirely?
No, Israel has no alternative to actually taking Gaza, securing Gaza. Moving into Rafah, as the secretary has said, is a must, is a strategic must, because what it does, it will clear the southeast Mediterranean from Israel all the way to Egypt and secure the Suez Canal. It's not just about a little pocket called Gaza. It will actually protect even the Arab coalition, protect northwest Saudi Arabia. It's much bigger than that. And it also will eliminate any threat against the southern part of Israel, the central part of Israel. Doing the north with Hezbollah, also as the secretary said, is basically a warning. But it's a warning with muscle, meaning Israel knows that Hezbollah's main concentrations are in the south in the Bekaa Valley. So they are warning them, if you attack us deeper with those ballistic missiles, we can go all the way to your strongholds in the north. And obviously that connects with what's happening with Iran, the balance of power changing between Israel and Tehran at this point in time.
Yes, it's very important. We know the Senate passed the aid bill, and now Biden signed it today and made some comments about it. We also learned some breaking news that the U.S. In recent weeks had already shipped some of those long-range missiles, the ATACMS, and to Ukraine, and that they have been used. What other significant things do you think we'll see with this aid package now being officially all buttoned up here, Secretary Wilkie?
Well, as with everything with the Biden administration, it's what we in the law would call inchoate. They've slow-rolled the delivery of weapons that have already been in the pipeline. And when those weapons get there, they tell the Ukrainians, don't attack Russians on Russian soil. Well, that is nonsense on stilts, because you cede the operational tempo of any military operation to the enemy. I mean, this administration still thinks that Vladimir Putin's going to pull some rabbit out of his hat and land in the rear and both flanks of NATO, instead of giving the Ukrainians what they need. I will say one other thing. This does show again, though, that the United States is carrying a disproportionate financial burden when those who are closer to Ukraine, particularly the Germans, are not doing anything. And that is something that President Trump would be insisting on if he were in the White House right now.
We know that. I'd like to get your thoughts, as an expert on Iran. And we see what's happening on the college universities, and it's not just students. I mean, clearly there is a lot of funding, there's coordination. I mean, how many people do you think that, with a wide open border, a lot of people think there's, terror cells in our country. We've got kids here. What's going on? And what do you think Iran is they're dancing in the streets over there in Tehran to see this, aren't they?
Oh, absolutely. What's happening? You really got your finger on the pulse here. This is an Iranian regime operation, and I'm saying it very clearly. We could sit down with Congress and could testify there to show them that this is an operation that is linked to Gaza, that is linked to the exchange of ballistic missiles. This is a war of idea. It's even more than that. It's actually a penetration of our institutions. First, they started with bringing academia and funding it with petrodollars. It took years and years, and that's why we find ourselves with these radicalized classrooms. And what does the classroom do? It produces the infantry. It produces, ultimate militants on the ground. And this morning, I was really stunned to see signs among the demonstrators saying, no war with Iran. Who asked for a war with Iran?
By the way, while we're talking, guys, this is live pictures of the University of Texas in Austin, and you can see anti-Israel activists. This is a new piece of clip. They're live pictures, and we've seen it spreading, so now here it is in Texas. The conservative Texas. I mean, this is, as you see, Austin, not so conservative, but these kids today, and Walid, I didn't mean to cut you off, but it's sad. They don't really understand anything that they're doing. And you talked about sort of this slow rollout where it started with the teachers. It started with tenured professors now seeping into this. Yeah. I don't know. It's such a root of evil. How do you get it out? I'd like to give you another 10 seconds as I interrupted you, but also kick it over to Secretary Wilkie.
Very, very quickly. I have been a professor for 25 years. I know what's going on in the classroom, especially that I taught Middle East studies. You have those who are just regular students brainwashed. They go out, they can't answer any question about Middle Eastern studies. Then you have the far left organized, these are the Reds, and then you have the jihadists. Actually, jihadists with Hezbollah flags and Hamas. It's not a simple thing. That's why it needs a good answer by Congress.
Okay, Secretary Wilkie, all those elite intellectuals, types that like to talk down to, the heartland here. Here we have it in Austin, Texas. Your thoughts there, this divide here in our country?
I'll make a stab at Texas culture. That wouldn't be happening at Texas A&M University.
That's for sure.
You hit it. Austin is this blazing liberal dot in the middle of a great state and a former republic. But this is the product of decades of monocultures on the elite campuses. The destruction, the rejection of any thoughts other than those that represent the left. Yep. The destruction of conservative students, pushing them out, conservative professors. These people only hear one side. And as a typical mob, most of these people, as Walid said, don't know the Middle East from Middle America. They will follow anything that moves because that's what a mob does.
Yeah, and it's been happening, and now it's on in plain sight for everyone to see exactly what is going on. But real danger here, I think, for students. Walid, Secretary Wilkie, thank you so much. Great to have you with us, and I appreciate all the analysis today.
Thank you.
I'll see you soon. Still ahead, former Japanese Prime Minister, maybe President Trump